I always forget to hold this up, and I speak very quietly as well, so just let me know if I slowly do that. Right, so hi, I'm Simon. I help happier staff deliver better things sooner. Thank you for having me. I'm just going to make my notes bigger, because I know I'll need them at some point. There we go. Okay. So I want to talk about effective management. I'm going to get out of your way. So I want to talk about effective management. And the reason that this is really close to my heart is management as a discipline is over 100 years old, but we still throw managers in at the deep end when they've just been promoted. And I don't know about you, but I'm a father of a 10-month-old boy, and I feel like I've been thrown in the deep end as well. The reason that I want to talk about effective management is, in the same breath as parenting is really for two reasons. One is that there's some remarkable similarities between the two, which I hope will become clear. And the second is that we can all empathize with parenting. We've all either been a parent or a kid, or maybe both. Yeah, hopefully the similarities will come out shortly. But really there's only three things as part of that. Firstly, I want to talk about why is it so difficult to be a parent or to be a manager. Secondly, I want to introduce you to a story on parenting, and in doing so, introduce you to two thinking tools. And then I want to use those two thinking tools in a management scenario to show that they can also be applied there. Three disclaimers. Firstly, I'm going to ask questions as I always do, and that's to make sure I'm conveying the material in a way that makes sense. It's not to test you, it's to test me. The second disclaimer is that all the good ideas come from other people, including my mentor, Noah, my father, my family, and all these wonderful thinkers. All the bad ideas are mine. And the final disclaimer is that the reason I'm talking about management and parenting in the same breath is not because we should treat our staff as kids or our kids as staff. They all have their own needs and wants. So let me tell you a story. So this, let me start with what's so difficult. Yeah, let's start with what's so difficult. So I'm going to list some things that I find difficult about parenting and management. This is not an exhaustive list, but hopefully some things that will resonate with you. So from a parenting perspective, as I said, it feels like we're thrown in the deep end. What to do is not obvious. What works is not obvious. It might be months or years before you know whether what you did on a particular day was the right thing for your kid. And you're often given advice that feels it just doesn't gel with the beliefs that you hold. Let's talk about management. It feels like we're thrown in the deep end. What to do is obvious. What has worked is not obvious. It may be months or years before you know whether you harmed or hindered your staff. And you often that you just doesn't quite feel right. You don't know what to do with it. So the question I have is, these are very different realms. Why do the challenges feel so similar? It always takes a while for the audience to warm up. So, any thoughts? I'll give you this one for free. So let me introduce you to Julie Cho from Facebook. So she said that your jobs as a manager is to get better outcomes from a group of people together. And the key words for me are get better outcomes from a group of people working together, i.e. help others succeed. And so I think the thing that's common here is that in both cases we're trying to help other people succeed. As parents, we're trying to help our kids succeed, and as managers, we're trying to help our staff succeed. And the funny thing is that we're not them. And that sounds really silly, but it means we can't experience their situation, and we can't control them, although sometimes I wish we could. And whilst it's easy to know what we need in a given situation, it's really hard to know what others need in their situation to be successful. If we did know, there'll be less burnt out staff leaving organizations because of bad management, and there'll be less projects failing. And also, we can't control our staff or our kids. We can tell them what to do, but that's a waste of their initiative. They will burn out as our families or teams get bigger, and they probably just won't listen anyway. They're not avatars, game avatars, marionettes. We can't tell them, we can't control them. And so what has helped us succeed in the past won't help us help others succeed in the future. And I think that's why there's so much in common here. So, for managers and parents, if managers and parents must now create conditions for others to succeed, then they need to accept you can't control and you don't experience the situation your staff or kids are in. And it's now therefore less obvious what might be a helpful action or an unhelpful action. And therefore, I believe to be effective, managers and parents need to be able to discern helpful from unhelpful. Right, now I can tell you a story. So this story is based on Alfie Kohn, a book by Alfie Kohn. He's a child psychologist. I'm going to say everything in first person Because whilst the situation probably sounds quite exaggerated, I can see myself doing it in a few years. So imagine a future where my kid is lying, he's acting out at school, he's resolving conflicts using power, he's bullying, and he's not able to develop his moral compass. He's not making decisions that feel quite right to me. Before I take ownership of this situation, let me ask you, what would you do if this was your kid? Got a hand up at the back?
Suggest he might be president of the US.
Suggest he might be president. I like that.
A really good question for HR practitioners, actually.
Question for
who
HR
are basically starting out.
Okay, so you're an HR practitioner, what would you suggest?
So I mean, I think, I'm not a HR practitioner, but the thing is, I did certify for it some years ago, some time ago.
Okay.
But I mean, I would probably give that question to the HR practitioner.
Oh, I see, okay.
So I think they would probably look at this scenario as a nightmare, basically, in the HR perspective, basically.
Okay, so outsource it to HR, I like that one. Elect for president, anything else? Any other ideas? Submit them to the mines. Sorry, was that?
Send them to the mines.
Send them to the mines, okay. My son is going to watch this in a few years, sorry. Okay, anything else? Anything else? Guraj?
I would try to find out the root cause of why they felt uncomfortable, felt the need to lie, act up and generally misbehave.
That's a one-handed clap. I love it. Okay, let me jump in. Let's see who's right. Minds, president, understand, and send to HR. Cool, okay. So I'm going to introduce the first thinking tool, which is a cause and effect diagram, current reality tree. The way to read it is an arrow is an if-then, so if the lamp's not plugged in, then the lamp will not turn on. And if it is raining and if I'm outside, circles and ankles, then I will get wet. But I'll narrate you through it. So these are all the observations that I mentioned earlier. And if we just stare at these for long enough, we can already start to see some cause and effect relationships. So if my kid resolves conflicts using power, if he's bullying, he's probably going to be seen doing that at school. But also, if my kid isn't able to develop this, and I'm always there to be with him, particularly at school, well, he's probably going to be caught acting out at school. Also, as you can see, I don't really believe my kid is making good decisions. And if he doesn't make good decisions, I'm going to tell him what to do, because I don't want him to have a bad life. I don't want his bad decisions to get in the way of him enjoying his life. The thing is, if I tell my kid what to do and decisions are what exercise moral judgments, I'm robbing him of the opportunity to develop his moral compass. Also, if I tell my kid what to do and I need my kid to comply with what I say, and my kid has his own desires, he's his own person, then I'm going to punish him when he doesn't do as I say. He needs to comply with what I've chosen for him. And if that is the case, he's going to avoid punishments as best he can. And what's a really good way of avoiding punishments?
Not doing it.
Yeah, not doing it. Oh, I've got a better one. I'd lie. So if my kid focuses on avoiding punishment, and lying is a really good way of avoiding punishments, hey, son in 2 years, he's going to lie. So,
Not if you find them out.
No, if you find them out, but you're incentivizing it. You're incentivizing them to try. Absolutely. And if I punish my kid when he doesn't do as I say, and punishment models power as a valid solution to conflicts, I'm also teaching him to bully. So if I see my kid lying, I see him at school, I'm really going to believe he's not making good decisions. And Alfie Cohen says this. So the more the strategy fails, the more we can assume the problem is with the child rather than the strategy itself. It's him, not me. It's a self-perpetuating loop. Sorry, there you go. Right. Question. Would tackling any of the symptoms directly have helped? Those are those ones there.
I mean, I guess the thing is that if your child is acting out, let's say, for example, you probably start to try and, obviously not go and scold or try directly, or basically try and find out what the main symptoms of the back end is, basically.
Guraj, everyone's coming to what you said. I don't know, I'd still maybe consider the minds, but yeah, no, I agree with what you said. So I asked this question, which was, would it tackling any of the symptoms have helped? So my belief is not really, because every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. So the results we're seeing, the reactions we're seeing of my kid lying, etc., are perfect reactions to the action I took, which was to tell him what to do all the time. Prefect. So knowing what you know now, where would you focus your action? If you could wave your magic finger at any one box on this diagram to make this woeful tale unwind, where would you point your finger?
At the bottom.
At the bottom. Any reason why?
If they make their own decisions, they learn from their own decisions.
Okay, yeah. If they make their own decisions, they learn from their own decisions. Any other views? Yeah.
Focus on the thing that you can change.
The thing you can change. These don't seem mutually exclusive. These seem nice coupled rules. I like that. It's almost like we're like writing pseudocode. Okay, so the lowest thing that we can control. I like it. Anything else?
Anything that breaks the chain.
Anything that breaks the chain.
Because I mean, if you find something that's a link that discontinues the whole chain, it doesn't matter which one to break it, things will change.
I like it. I think you've given me why to these two rules. I like it. This is like debugging. I like it. Anything else? There's one at the back.
Yeah, so I think that the problem here is that when he doesn't make the decisions, you react in a certain way, instead of what to do.
Yeah.
That wasn't your parent imagining error, instead of knowing the real root cause and trying to that.
I see. So I just want to make sure I understood. You're saying that everything I'm doing here is a reaction as opposed to understanding.
Yes, the wrong reaction to a reason is like you fall into the root cause
Yeah.
and recognize it, but you should not tell people what to do.
Yeah. Don't disagree. Don't disagree. Something's gone wrong. Okay, good. Perfect. We're back. Yep, I like it. Thank you. So yeah, I think you're all looking around here, and you've given me the kind of pseudo code for how to get to that. I really love it. Thank you very much. Better put than I did. So this is a rhetorical question. The question is, why do I tell my kid what to do? An important question for later is, I must be doing this for a reason. Probably, right? If you're a coach or a consultant to if you're a coach to a family or a consultant to an organization, before you can help them find an alternative method, you need to understand what their goal is. If you don't know where they're trying to get to, you can't help them surface other ways of getting there. So, question, because we need to find an alternative to it. But in order to find an alternative to it, we need to find why I'm doing it in the first place. This is getting a little bit meta. Right, okay. So recap. The current reality tree, the thing you just saw, helps us trace back from symptoms to cause. In this case, making all decisions for my kid and pursue the second tool. Right, yes, catching up with myself. Sorry, I'm a dad and I've got dad brain. Right, so what I want to talk about here is conflicts. And when I say the word conflict, what I mean by conflict is when there's an either-or decision. You can only do one of two options. And this could be something in your head. You could be saying, for example, do we begin austerity measures in the UK? Do we not? Do I lend my son my car? Do I not? Probably not, because he's 10 months old. It's an either-or decision. And it might be in your head, it might be with your wife or someone else. But it's a conflict. You can only choose one. So that's what I mean by conflict. And this is a conflict I imagine with my wife in a couple of years. She'll say, let your son make decisions. And I'll say, well, no, I'm going to tell him what to do. We've already seen that. And there's a conflict. You can do one or the other. Or you can kind of compromise. Compromise here is that my wife gives our kid freedom whilst I'm more strict. My kid goes to my wife every time, and then my wife and I argue. No one wins, we all lose. And Ellie Goldrat says, our fear that conflicts will lead to a tug of war diverts management or parent attention to constantly struggle with unacceptable compromises. But instead, we can actually remove every conflict. And that's what I want to do here. So the first question we need to ask in a situation like this is, do my wife and I have different goals? Yes. Tell me more.
I would say we probably doesn't like the conflict.
There's a conflict? Yeah.
I mean, we're talking restricted if you want to tell your child what to do.
Yeah.
That creates some tension. She probably doesn't like.
Okay. But do we have different goals?
Huh?
Do we have different goals? Do we have different goals, or do we have different approaches?
Yeah, I was going to say, you have the same goal in mind, but you're going about it in
a different way.
approaches.
Ooh, okay. I'm getting a few different views. I like this. Thank you. Sorry, I picked on you. Thank you for bearing with me. I like this. Thank you.
You seem to be considering different timescales.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, you are talking about the immediate timescale, tell him what to do. She is talking about the longer term timescale, let him learn.
Oh, I like this. Oh, I like
Yes,
this.
and also at the same time, I think another thing I picked up is, for example, I think your wife is more or less thinking in terms of, let's say, the example of if you teach a man to fish, rather than give a man an amount
Yeah, yeah.
of fish.
Yeah, I like it. I think you're on the same page. Cool. Okay, I like this. Oh, you guys are much better at this than me. Okay, great. So different timescales. So Joseph Grady says, by focusing on higher and longer term goals, you often find ways to transcend short-term compromises. And the great thing about that is, if you don't have the same goal, there's no reason to try and resolve the conflict. Whereas if you have the same goal over a longer period of time, you have a reason to try and resolve the conflict or dissolve the conflict. So if I ask my imaginary wife, hopefully not imaginary, but my wife in an imaginary 2 years from now, why do you want to let her make decisions? She'll say to have a happy family. And in order to have a happy family, I need to ensure our kid has a fulfilling life, because our kid's happiness makes me happy. And in order to ensure our kid has a fulfilling life, I need to ensure that I need him to make decisions, because autonomy helps our kid find and become the person he wants to be. She's a great wife. If you ask me, why do I want to tell my kid what to do, I'll say, well, I also want to have a happy family. But in order to have a happy family, I want an easier life myself, because parenting is really hard. In order to have an easier life myself, I need to tell him what to do, because it's easier to tell my kid how to behave than to teach him how to behave. So we both have the same goal. Oh, so it's coming up here. Oh, let's see. Let me come to that in a second, because I'm curious if we come to the same point. So, as you all got to before I did, we all have the same goal. My wife and I have the same goal, but we have different ways of wanting to get there. So we're both trying to end up at the same point, but we have different routes in mind. But the great thing about these things here is there are assumptions behind each of our different routes to get to the same destination. And if we can invalidate any of those assumptions, we can just hop into the same car and take the same route to the same destination. The conflict evaporates. So the question I have for you, and Lisa Shankov puts it really well, sorry, I love these quotes. She says, people are hurt and organizations do not improve due to our carelessness in the use of the word because. Our assumptions are what mean that we hop in different cars to try and get to the same destination, but we're in conflict. And if we can find an invalid assumption here, we could just be in the same car to the same destination, if that metaphor makes sense. So the question I have for you, and I think this is where your bubbles were, can you find any of these that seem valid to you? Yeah.
The idea that it's easier to tell a kid how to behave rather than to teach him how to behave.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, I believe that if you tell him how to behave, realistically, if we go back to the reality tree that you draw, telling him how to behave is not working.
Yeah.
So you're left to deal with those consequences, which is not easier.
Oh.
But if you invest in the long term of teaching him how to behave, sure, the kid will probably commit, bad decisions as any kid. Yeah. But it'll get there because at some point he or she will develop autonomy, and that autonomy will ease your day of having to deal with those things. So you will no longer have to tell them how to behave.
Oh, you put it so well. Absolutely, yeah. So this doesn't feel right to me, right? As you said, much better than I can, but I'll try. Is it really easy to tell my kid how to behave now in the future? Is it? I'll come to you in a second. Sorry. Yeah.
I was going to say, think of the situation like, if your kid's going to put pineapple on pizza, you should let them learn the lesson, because it's not going to hurt them. But if your kid's going to put their hand on the stove, you should tell them what to do now, because it's not really a teaching thing. I think if your kid taken off, you can let him touch his hand on the stove and get rid of the birds.
That's a really good, I like that. Safety is the one thing where it's a type 1, type 2 decision, right? If they walk through that door and burn their hand, they burn their hand. So yeah, completely agree, safety is a slightly different one. I like that.
It's like a balance thing.
Absolutely, yeah. But how can we make more type 2 decisions, type 1 decisions, type 2? I like it, thank you. Sorry.
Can you go back one slide?
Of course I can. This one?
When I look at that, and it says, can you find an invalid assumption? I think he's right. The assumption is that this is on the same time scale. That's the invalid assumption.
Tell me more about why that's an invalid assumption. I like what you're thinking.
Because you're thinking they both have the same variables, but actually one of them is a longer time scale.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't disagree. So generally, what you might find, it's a really astute assumption, by the way, a very astute observation, sorry. What you'll generally find with these kind of evaporating clouds is you'll find one side is different in its context, I guess is lack of, like one might be more globally focused and one might be more locally focused. Like if you're doing this for a team, you might find one side is a local optimization. How can we help the team? But how can we also, in doing so, help the organization? Or different timelines. So yeah, very well, very good observation, thank you. Yes, gentleman at the back.
Also the assumption that somebody unattended and called the request. You need to guide them. So what assumptions are wrong for the same reason?
Yeah, you know, I think you're right. I think there's probably some wording here that's not very nuanced, and I think the gentleman here mentioned safety, for example, so I think you're quite right. I think my wording here isn't precise and tight enough, and I think your point there is a very good one. So yes, so bear with me on that. Thank you for accepting my imperfection. Right, so yes, so this one I think is the best one, despite the imperfect wording, which is that it might be easier for me to choose my underwear for my son today, but when he's 40 years old, it gets harder for him, harder for me, harder for my
Or
wife.
it's completely impossible.
I hope so. I really hope so. So it might be truer in the short term, but more false in the long term. And Peter Senge puts it really well. He says, many short-term improvements lead to long-term dependencies. Me making more and more decisions for my child today mean that I'm going to have to make more and more decisions for my child tomorrow. So thank you for that really well. So yeah, this isn't true. And if that's not true, I don't need to do that because it's not going to take me close to where I want to go, as you said. It's going to take me down that current reality tree further away from what I want. So why not I just hop in the car with my wife? If I want to have an easier life myself, let him make decisions, because the more decisions my kid makes, the less decisions I need to make for him, exactly as you said. So thank you for being ahead of things. So recapping, families and organizations, we are all working to the same goal generally, and therefore conflicts are generally disagreements in how we get there. And compromising means everyone loses, whereas if we could find an invalid assumption, we can all be in the same happy car. And the evaporating cloud is a way of surfacing and debugging those assumptions. Double dot. I don't know why double dot. Right, okay, almost there. Right, I want to take those two tools. I want to apply them to a management situation. Yes, you're bearing with me. Thank you very much. I'm going to keep all the questions rhetorical now. Debug mode off, trough. Just to save your brain juice and your time, forgive me. So, I want to take the same tools and apply them to a call center. Imagine we're a manager of a call center and this is what we see. Customers are frustrated, costs are increasing, agent attrition is high, call volumes are increasing, everything's wrong. And I want to try and answer the same question. I'm going to try and first answer it as we are typically taught to, as a management consultant or a manager. The way I would do this is, I'd say, well, if customers are frustrated, I'm just going to improve agent training, because if agents are more courteous and better trained, then customers will come off the phone feeling better. I'm going to institute a hiring freeze to stop costs increasing. If agent attrition is high, I'm going to introduce a retention bonus. And if call volumes are increasing, I'm going to take the call center number, put it in the smallest font, and put it on the most obscure web page on our website. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those recommendations, I'm going to rank them by cost versus impact. I'm going to take the top 3, and then we'll just do that, right? Ooh. It's all rhetorical. I've done it. The problem is, if we look at these in a bit more detail, right? Improving agent training comes at a cost, which increases cost, right? Institute a hiring freeze means that, especially with call volumes increasing, for a little while at least, customers are going to be waiting for longer, and that's going to be frustrating for them. If I introduce a bonus, it's a cost, and if I hide the call center number, I don't know about you, but I'll be really angry as a customer by the time I talk to someone. So all we've really done is move the problem around. We haven't solved anything. And ACOB says that managers are not confronted with problems that are independent of each other, but problems that interact with each other. And therefore, we don't solve problems, we manage messes. So problems we observe are often symptoms of an underlying cause, and attempting to tackle symptoms in isolation will usually only push the effects elsewhere. And that's why we use a current reality tree where helpful. So, same thing. Observations, there's a few more I didn't mention. The customers are going elsewhere, agent absence is high. If we stare at it for long enough, our eyeballs start to bleed, but we also see cause and effect. Customers are frustrated. If customers are frustrated, then customers are eventually going to go elsewhere to our competitors. And also, if agent attrition is high and hiring and training agents is costly, costs are going to increase. Also, if agent absence is high, they're not coming to work, then we're going to need more agents to cover the same period of time, more cost. But also, call centers are often perceived as a cost to minimize. They're seen as a cost center. And if that is the case, then agents are going to be incentivized to put the phone down as quickly as possible so they can handle more calls in any given period. Each customer and issue is unique. Every customer is beautiful. And if that's the case, then the time needed per call will vary. But if time needed per call will vary, and agents are incentivized to keep calls short to get that phone down, then customers are probably going to need to call back several times to resolve any one issue. And the flip side of that is agents are going to be less able to resolve customer issues. If customers need to call back several times to resolve any one issue, they're going to be frustrated. And it means that we're going to have increasing call volumes, not because we have an increasing number of issues, but because every customer has to now call several times. And we call this failure demand. Failure demand is the demand caused by a failure to do something or do something right for the customer. We've got inflated demand. It's not real. It's just because we caused it by not solving the issue right first time. And if call volume is increasing, we need more agents. If we need more agents, we have to pay for them. If agents are less able to resolve customer issues, agents are going to start to feel disengaged. Why am I here? You're just making me put the phone down quickly. I really want to help people in my life. So they'll leave or not come into work. And we have a downward spiral. Costs are increasing, but we're a cost center. What do we do? And scene. So I'm going to answer this cheekily. I think you gave me the pseudocode for it, the lowest thing down in the tree that affects the most things above it that we can affect. Sorry.
I think there was something missing in this.
Oh, probably, yeah, something's missing. Probably.
Missing is company policy.
Company policy. Tell me more.
Because frequently, when I'm on a phone call with an agent for some whatever reason, I frequently get that the agent has no decision-making power, or that he's specifically to do something which would be actually the right thing.
Yeah, no, I like. Sorry?
Can you summarize what you didn't say?
I will try my best. What I understood is often in call centers, this is like a test. There's a policy that prevents call agents from doing what's needed. Is that rough, fluffy, right? And that gets in the way of you.
Sometimes companies don't want customer problems resolved.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
For whatever reason.
So there's a big chunk of this, you're absolutely right. So this is where I kind of put the small print and say every model's wrong, but some are helpful. And you're quite right. There's something missing here, which is very key, which is the number of handoffs required in a call center, because either agents have been specialized or don't have the remit to do what's necessary to help the customer.
Yeah, maybe the company doesn't want to do this.
Well, the customer doesn't want to, the company doesn't want to do it, yeah. Thank you.
I mean, actually, can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
So, I think somebody told me, I know someone actually, used to be a call center manager some years ago, okay? He actually told me, he actually said to me that if, for example, he also described a similar scenario. So basically, at the end of the day, any sort of customer that goes to a call center of any company, the thing is that I think the agents, they forget to do one specific thing.
Yeah.
If they do that, I think their stress levels and they would go quite low, basically. And the churn would be quite less, actually, by customers to other companies. The thing to do is that, whenever a customer picks up the phone, the thing is that during that time, the first customer is frustrated, extremely frustrated. The thing is you need to give at least about 5 or so minutes, at least maybe 2, 3 or 4 minutes to customer to basically vent out that, or even at the end you just need to listen as an agent. Okay. After they've done that, then you start to basically rebuild them up again. And obviously empathetically, and what basically you can do to resolve the issue. And then in order to resolve the issue, then you have to obviously make sure that they're being heard by the actual manager as well.
Oh, yeah.
That can give bosses give them a better
sorry, thank you, Alan. I completely agree. In this case, we're constrained from letting them speak up and vent their issues and kind of have a cathartic release because the agents are incentivized to keep calls short, and that's, I completely agree, gets in the way.
Because normally the agents are the weakest link, so you need to support them.
No, I completely agree. That's what a manager does, right? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Right, the current reality tree, therefore, is a way of tracing back from symptoms to underlying cause. As we said, I can't read it because it's behind my head. And in many organizations, failure demand consumes actually 50% of capacity, which means in this case, if we could resolve issues right first time, we'd actually double our agent capacity for free, which is quite a cool fact from John Seddon. So this is the conflict behind the call center, perhaps, right? So you can imagine the head of finance of the call center would say, hey, limit call length. And the head of customer success would be saying, well, don't limit call length. Then we have a conflict. We can't do both. I will answer this for you. Forgive me, do these managers have different goals? Well, probably not. As we know, in an organization, in a family, there's probably an overarching goal. That's why we're working together towards something greater than ourselves. If you asked the head of finance, they'd say, well, I want to run a successful call center. And in order to do that, I need to minimize costs because call centers are a cost to minimize. And in order to minimize costs, I want to limit call length because keeping calls short means less agents are required. Because the quicker they put the phone down, the quicker they can pick it back up and answer another call. So we need less agents. If you ask the head of customer success, they'll say, well, I want to do that too. Maybe in a more deeper masculine voice. And if that is the case, in order to do that, we must satisfy customers. Because satisfied customers improve our long-term profitability. And in order to satisfy customers, we must not limit call length because each customer and issue is unique, so resolution time will vary. So same goal, but an assumption is incorrect. And you probably all know that this doesn't play out. We've seen how it plays out. In the current reality tree, it doesn't stand. If we keep calls short and incentivize putting the phone down quickly, customers need to call back. We get failure demand, we get increased call volume, we need more agents, costs increase. So it doesn't work. And if he joins the same car as the other person, in order to minimize costs, we shouldn't limit call length because solving issues on first contact reduces call volume and the number of agents required and actually therefore reduces costs. Yes, Goraj.
I would say that they're using the wrong metric.
I know what you're going to say.
They need to be aware of the total time spent on each customer, not the time spent on each call.
I am curious about that. Tell me more, if I'm allowed to.
Well, you're talking about one of the reasons, one of the things that drive is customers having to call back repeatedly.
Yep.
And part of that process is going to be establishing the circumstances and the scenario every single call.
Yes.
So you're wasting repeated time on that customer just establishing a situation, as well as driving their frustration. Rather than driving it to solution.
Oh, I would say the measures are wrong. I should,
The metric is wrong.
Yeah. I'd say the measures should focus on effectiveness, not efficiency, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
So there's another
Okay, okay, sorry, I'm being naughty. I've taken a lot of time, sorry. So what, the final slide, Matt? I'm sorry. Is in order to help others, we need to discern, sorry for cutting off, discern a helpful action from an unhelpful action. As parents, we need to help our kids be successful. As managers, we need to help our staff be successful. Helpful actions come from valid assumptions about reality. Unhelpful actions come from invalid assumptions about reality. As a father, I told my kid what to do because more agents, everyone lost, greater costs. The current reality tree helps us see the consequences of our incorrect assumptions, and the evaporating cloud allows us to debug them and find alternatives. But there's one final thing, which is within 1 minute, I promise. The hardest thing for me, the most bittersweet thing is, as managers and as parents, we're usually the source of the problems we see. Peter Senge says, when people who are actually creating systems start to see themselves as the source of their problems, they invariably discover a new capacity to create the results they truly desire. Knowing that I'm responsible for the problems in my family and in my team is scary, but it's also very reassuring to know that I can fix them. And books, recommendations, thank you. This is where you can find me. Time. Sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you for the extra time.